Hey everyone, today I'm going to talk all about OCD and ADHD. This is a topic I've been asked about a lot. My specific journey with being diagnosed with ADHD at a very young age, where I think people go wrong with ADHD, similarities kind of between the two, ADHD and OCD, and why people are so confused on them. And the biggest thing is the fear of if I have ADHD, it will be harder to concentrate, I won't be able to achieve much in my life. I'm not going to be able to recover from OCD. I hear this a lot, people that have ADHD and OCD together, it's more difficult to recover. That's absolutely nonsense, not true whatsoever. I know that because of myself and all the other people I work with who've been diagnosed with ADHD and OCD. So before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that like button, comment down below. Let me know what you think about this video. This is a long time in the making. I've been asked to do this topic, 50 times in the last year, of people that are afraid of having ADHD and so forth. So before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that like button, comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Please tell me maybe you're concerned about something and we can kind of go back and forth in the dialogue and stuff like that. And if you're interested in our coaching and webinar services, please email us at info@ocdrecovery.com and we'll get back to you in a timely fashion. So when I was 11 or 12, first of all, I could never sit still. When I was a kid, I was just blah, 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 blah. The teachers always told me, and my mom loves to say this, Nicholas is a great kid. He's smart. He just doesn't either show up to school or he doesn't listen, but he doesn't get bad grades. If he does fail a class, it's because he doesn't show up, not because he can't actually do the work. Like when I left college, my GPA was almost a 4.0 flat when I left University of Central Florida. So I basically have never had a problem intellectually with conceptualizing information and being analytical, not in an OCD sense, and then building things in say, a business sense. But I've always, to a degree, I had to work on patience a little bit more than other people. I think that's something that we know, but anyone that knows me. Now, I've gotten extremely good at patience now. There's always work to be done. So I now know quite confidently, can't say for certain, that the ADHD diagnosis is not as problematic as many people are afraid of, because it's very similar to an OCD article where people say, 80% of OCD people don't recover. This is a nonsense statement. It's very similar to, we hear people that say, people who are diagnosed with ADHD or ADD will have a significant effect on their lives. They'll become drug addicts and stuff like that. There is absolutely no literature to support that in a substantial fashion. That is just a straight myth, and it's not true. And the reason why we know this is because I'm a living proof. Now people go, oh, that's a one-off. But I've read multiple books, a book called Spark, that catered exercise to people with ADHD and ADD, and that kind of turned their life around in many different ways. And this isn't to talk about medication. The big ones are Ritalin, Adderall, Concerta, 54. Those things can have great benefit, just like medications can have great benefit for OCD. Now, with ADHD, it's not so much like a belief thing, but I do think that ADHD is not as problematic when you understand your tendencies. It's like someone that struggles with addiction as well. Me as well, right? A lot of comorbidities. You got addiction type poles, OCD type poles, ADHD type poles, impulsive type poles. So these are things I have to be aware of, but it doesn't make any difference to my ability to get better from OCD. So when you look at OCD and ADHD combined, the fear of it, it's almost very much into a health, like a fear of missing out in life, the fear of not being able to accomplish things because you have ADHD, and then health OCD, right? Because that's where that kind of comes in. Terminal illnesses, even though it's not a terminal illness, but that's kind of how the OCD sufferer will see it. So when you are looking at ADHD, what are the core fears? The fear of not being able to concentrate, the fear of never being able to achieve anything, and then what do? They go to Dr. Google, they read all the symptoms of ADHD. Now, ADHD is one of the most commonly prescribed medications on the planet. Now, I'm not going to talk about how I believe about putting 3- and 4-year-old kids on ADHD medication, because that's not what this channel is about. Now, I obviously have my beliefs on that, and just to give you an example, some of the stuff you read, there's 20 million prescriptions a year for Ritalin. That seems extremely drastic. The number one goal in life is to always be on less medications. Now, if you're on medications, that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that. I work with people who take medications for their entire OCD recovery journey, and that's great, and it has great benefits, but they still have to work on their beliefs. Now, if you're diagnosed with ADHD like I was when I went in to Robert Wood Johnson in New Jersey, and my parents, the neurologist told, my mom loves telling the story. They said, he has one of the worst cases of ADHD I've ever seen. My mom, I don't know if that's true, but that's what my mom told me. It probably was true because I was living in a place, a point in my life where there's no water in this. ADHD right there. Where I really had a hard time sitting still and concentrating. Now, just because I was diagnosed with ADHD, there was no large detrimental effects on my ability to get better from OCD. Now, there were pieces in my journey where that fear did crop its head. Am I going to be able to get better? I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. This is quite bad. That did pop up every once in a while, but it wasn't a detrimental thing to where I was constantly worrying about that. Now, there are many people that do constantly worry about that. Now, again, if you want to go get a diagnosis on ADHD, sure. Now, is that going to take away the fear if you have a deep fear of having ADHD? Absolutely not. But the diagnosis can be helpful if you think there's medications that you want to take. Again, I'm not here to advise on that, but I am here to talk about that, the fear behind having ADHD and not being able to recover, and just having ADHD in general. Now, as someone who was diagnosed, like I said, with ADHD at a young age, I've achieved many things in my life that many people have never achieved, right? Being a business owner, having employees, doing a lot of coaching, hiking lots of mountains, being disciplined, very disciplined in a lot of areas of my life. Now, there are a lot of things in my life that were difficult, such as patience and impulsiveness, that I had to rein in and get those under control by changing my beliefs and learning to sit with discomfort. So the moral of this video is this. You can have ADHD, ADD, I'm just going to call it ADHD, and OCD and recover. There's any type of strong statistical data that says that someone with ADHD will have a harder time recovering from OCD. Now, people will say that's reassurance, but I can tell you, so reassurance is almost always, there's no basis to it. It's like saying 80% of people with OCD will never recover. That's not true. Well, that's a reassurance. That's not true. Just like with ADHD and OCD, it's not true that the person can't get better from that. And I think that's very, very important to cover. Now, if you have the fear of developing ADHD and then hindering your OCD recovery process, you'll want to break that down with the first book on the reading list, right? How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable About Anything, Yes, Anything, and go through it in that type of a manner. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I do want to jump up here and make a video on this because it is something that has been going around for a very long time, and I have so many people ask me about it. A lot of people that are kind of like have gone to mental hospitals and come out in that regard saying, hey, look, they told me because I have ADHD and I have OCD, it's going to be more difficult to recover. Nonsense, just total nonsense. I have to repeat that in that fashion because a lot of people have that fear. Now, if you do have ADHD, there are some things you'll probably have to accept. You might be a little bit more distracted easier. You might not be as present in the moment, which is natural. You can't force the present moment. The present moment, trying to force the present moment is like trying to force happiness, especially for OCD and anxiety sufferers because they're so hyper-focused on the present moment. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, please comment down below and I'll get back to those in a timely fashion. I'd like to go through every single comment and answer those. And again, if you're interested in our coaching and webinar services, please email us at info@ocdrecovery.com and we'll get back to you in a timely fashion. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.